Leo tuko na mgeni Waswahili wasemanga mgeni bomba. She's a vibrand active. She calls herself an active citizen, and that's quite interesting coinage, because people are used to activist, this and that, and activist has given almost a feeling of aggression. You know, when someone is active citizen, there's someone who's playing a video. Yeah. So someone is playing on live stream, and then your earphones moja imekanyaga nje, just turn it. Flip it. Yeah. Oh,
no wonder I thought there was something wrong with my
that is the one. Hiyo ndio inaleta shida. Sijaribu kwa wazee wako nyumbani. Kama uko Nairobi.
Kwa uzee, I said I can only hear,
on one side.
Lakini nisiseme kitu.
All right, karibu sana Jerotich. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much for inviting me to be with you this morning.
And we are very happy about what you're doing.
Thank you.
So he's an active citizen.
I'm an active citizen. Yes.
So where did you get that thing, active citizen?
Actually, it's a friend of mine, Marilyn Kamuro. I heard her use it a couple of years ago, and I said, I like that. I like that. You're a citizen and you're active. You could call yourself an activist. You could call yourself a social justice advocate. You could do all kinds of things, but I like active citizen. So I use it, and that's how I encompass all my public work, all my public advocacy work. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So uliamua kuzima stima?
Yeah.
Kuliendaje na mambo ya stima ya switch off?
No, I'm not zimaing stima. I'm zimaing Makatel.
Yeah, switch off KPLC.
Yes. In fact, we want power. We want electricity. That's the issue. And with switch off KPLC, we've said enough of the robbery of Wakenya who pay exorbitant high electricity bills month in, month out. Whether you're prepaid or postpaid, there's always a
We're all
problem.
suffering.
Yes, yes.
So why are you interested with power?
Look, I'm interested in all things basic services and public services. But towards the end of 2017, December, I started noticing, along with several other Kenyans, active citizens, I would call them, that there was a problem with our electricity bills. You receive 2 bills in a month. Sijui estimates 001 month, the next month 29,000, then 6,000. So we found out in January of 2018 that there was a lawyer who was also suffering himself and was going to go to court on this matter. And we approached him and said, can we all team up together, get bills, find people, and we come together and say, we are all suffering, and we have said no. And at that moment, Ministry of Energy had also said they needed to recover 10.1 billion shillings from Wakenya. Wow. There was drought, all those different things, and so we had to pay backdated fuel charges.
So sisi ndio tunaletanga ukame Kenya.
And then when we went to court, we received a court order saying do not proceed to collect this 10.1 billion from electricity consumers until this matter is heard in court. Do you know they collected the 10.1 billion and then some?
They still went ahead and did that.
They went ahead, they disobeyed court orders. So when we say switch off KPLC, we're saying enough of the harassment, misuse, abuse, and theft of our monies as Wakenya. And if the energy cartels are the ones who are behind our increasing cost of electricity, tuwazime. Get them out.
So wewe ni kuzima cartel, si kuzima stima.
Yeah, kuzima makartel. Cartels have to go. And cartels sit in KPLC, they sit in EPRA, which is a regulatory authority, they sit in Ministry of Energy, they sit in the IPPs themselves, those independent power producers. They also sit with the broad generators, Kina Kengen, Kina Geothermal. So across the board in the energy sector, you have cartels sitting in there, fishing money, extorting, stealing, money laundering, all kinds of things. But as consumers, you, Gerald, Lucia, myself, we are face to face with KPLC every month because they are the ones who take our money. So when we say switch off KPLC, we are talking about the entire energy sector group of cartels, but we refer to KPLC because they are the ones we deal with every month.
Yes, they are the ones we pay.
And KPLC stole 150 billion shillings from itself. One of the things we are saying,
pocketing yourself.
Yeah, they pickpocketed themselves badly. From junior to medium, middle level to senior to everywhere they have stolen. But when we say in switch off KPLC, we want a forensic audit. We want to know what's going on there. Wanakata. We have petitions running in court. We want justice for electricity consumers. Lucia, see, you had a problem the other week.
Oh my God, Aki, I'm telling you, it was horrible.
and people, she's among the people who are
Lakini
very vocal with my...
at least hujasema oh my god. You tried today.
Gerald achana na mimi. Kwa sababu hiyo story, oh my god. Kenya Power wako na madharau sana, and Jero here really helped me, because kama si hiyo kelele alipiga, mimi sasa bado ningekuwa na kati wa stima na sina bili ya stima, and they had done this for 18 months, 1.5 years. Gerald, nikisumbuana nao, nikireport kila branch yenye wako nayo existing in this Nairobi, na bado nazungushwa like a kid. It was just I actually lost my cool on that day, and I was calling her and I was crying because I was meant to go see someone at Steamer House. Na security wamenifungia. You can imagine watchman amekukataza from getting a service that you pay for and you deserve.
That's quite sad. You know, on the same note, it's why do we romanticize thieves? Like, these are thieves. Cartel is a very beautiful word. It doesn't befit them. When you say cartel, it sounds good on the mouth. We need to start calling them thieves.
They are
thieves.
Know,
for there we romanticize crooks.
Yeah.
You know, we should call them crooks and thieves anyway. For our anyway. All right. So niliona stima pia kitambo nilikuwa naonanga 500 shillings used to give you 32 units. Today it's 22 units.
Or it could be 12 units or 5 units or 40 units. You never know how they are calculating it. There are so many algorithms in play that people will constantly tag me on Twitter, for example, and say, I put 1,000 bob, I got 24 units. Somebody else, 1,000, they got 54. And then you have these other levies that appear on your bill. So you pay for electricity, your price per kilowatt hour. And your price per kilowatt hour will depend on whether you're consuming more than 100 kilowatts per month, kilowatt hours per month, or less. And then once they have determined that, then you have all these other levies you have to pay. Sijui fuel, sijui forex, sijui warmer, sijui what. By the time you're done with all of that, you also pay VAT on top of everything. Then you get your bill. So that 1,000 bob there, a good 40% of it has nothing to do with your stima. Maybe even 50%. So it doesn't earn you or give you the power that you need. And think about it this way. How will this country ever industrialize? Think of all the SMEs. Think of all the people who are starting their small businesses. So you hear about Akina Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all these guys who started their businesses in their garages. So now imagine somebody has a two-room somewhere and they want to start an enterprise and they cannot afford electricity. If our big industries, so moving from small, our big industries cannot afford electricity, we will be forever importing things like widgets from China, sijui where. We do not manufacture stuff here because the cost of electricity is too high. And who bears the brunt? There was a mama who lost 5 liters of breast milk.
Wow.
She had frozen it, and then KPLC kicked in. They tried to preserve it, and breast milk is very sensitive. And after a day or 2 or 3, she lost it all. And maybe she was about to go back to work, and she had now stashed her breast milk so that her baby can be fed. And so wherever you look, people are bearing the brunt, whether it is mothers, whether it is fathers, whether it is children who cannot do homework. Even now, those who are doing remote learning in these days of COVID, as soon as your power goes, even if you were fortunate enough to have Wi-Fi in your house, you're done for. So it is a huge problem across the board. And let me tell you, Gerald, if you earn 1 million shillings a month, and very few people do, and 10% of your 1 million bob goes to electricity, do you want that? No. If you earn 50,000 shillings a month, do you want 5,000 bob to go to electricity? No. Let me tell you, in 1 year, my bill, I calculated all my bills, that 2017 into 2018, 276,000 shillings in electricity bills that I was given.
Goes to the Dima.
To Sitima. With which money? See, then you have to become a thief. Then you have to become a thief so that you can afford your hair. And so when you see people, when you wanaibanga stima, they do funny connections, you look at them and you say, at this point in time, you can even understand why people are even rigging it, because they can't afford their electricity anymore. Of course, it's also illegal, and they're also thieves, and they must also stop. But it is incredible.
Right.
And it's also dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
But then people need to survive, and they're really struggling to survive. I know at my hood, there's this guy who sells fries. So Chipo, anaitwa Musioka, a very nice gentleman, and he works really, really hard. And on a day when stima imezimwa, when they tell you there is a scheduled maintenance, you don't have electricity for almost 8 hours. He told me on Saturday he makes a loss of up to 25,000.
Oh my God.
Losses.
Oh my
because
God.
waru zenye zimechongwa zitakaa kwa maji zitaharibika, he has to throw them away. Hawezi kupika nazo anymore. And you see, even if they give you a notice, utaambia supplier wako, so kesho usiniletee waru kwa sababu Kenya Power wamesema watazima stima.
You already have a contract.
Yeah.
You have a contract with the supplier.
You cannot breach it.
Yeah.
But you see, the problem here is we have contracts with Kenya Power, and Kenya Power is always breaching the contract, and there's no consequence for Kenya Power.
There are no consequences whatsoever. This is impunity that thieves enjoy in this country. Whatever you do, it's fine. You'll come back. Even these scheduled maintenances. How many scheduled maintenances can you have? And every time there's a storm, power goes. Every time there's something, power goes. And then your transformers are popping all over the place like popcorn. There is the mother and her 3-month-old baby electrocuted to death in Kwale County. Because there was a
because of bad, because
this
of
dangerous
technical
service.
issues.
Not technical issues. Dangerous negligence. It's criminal negligence.
And you see, that issue had been reported before the
weeks, or even
accident
6 weeks
happened.
before.
Yeah. And nothing was done. And they do this all the time. And I have tried. There's a day a transformer went off at my place and ikaanza kuwaka moto. Trust me, I called, I tweeted, I sent a message on Facebook. I even told the estate chairman. Nothing happened for 2 days. 2 days. Kama ingekuwa ni kuungua, sisi wote tungeiva huko.
Anyway, so on the same thing, mambo ya stima, they have said that they want to increase the bills by 20%. I don't know if you guys are ready for that.
I've taken them to court already.
20%.
I've taken them to court. I filed an application on the 2nd of October. You know, I work with a team called Energy Justice 6. Fantastic 5 other Kenyans along with me who've decided that no matter how these cases were settled in 2018 out of court, which is irregular because public interest matters cannot be settled out of court, we decided we're going to continue to pursue these cases. Now we see KPLC is trying to get EPRA, the regulatory authority, to increase our bills by 20%. And I filed an application on the 2nd of October. We have our mention tomorrow, and we are saying so long as our matters are still alive in court, you cannot touch the increment. You cannot increase our bills by 20%, by 2%, by 5%. Leave it until our matter is heard to its finality. And we have to keep fighting like that. Like I told you, 15 shillings and 80 cents per kilowatt hour. What about 10 shillings per kilowatt hour? Now if they increase by 20%, and I'm sure people will already tweet and say our bills have already gone up. Some of these things they do as formalities. They have already been approved, Kinyuma, and one day you'll see a backdated Gazette notice saying, oh, electricity rates have gone up. So we are saying, no, you can't touch our stima bills. We are suffering as it is. You have stolen from yourselves. You are thieves. You are part of a network of people who are going to indebt us to the tune of 6 trillion shillings over the next 20 years. We've said stop it. And that's why I'm an active citizen, and that's why we must all be active citizens, or else we'll just be there complaining about our bills forever and ever, amen, instead of saying enough is enough. We need integrity when it comes to services. And the 4th schedule of the Constitution, by the way, says that all matters of reticulation, of utility, of electricity, water, all these public services must go down to the counties. Counties must be able to determine for themselves how they want water, electricity, everything to flow. But Kenya Power still controls power nationally. It has not been given to the counties. So let's say there's a county that's full of wind energy, Marsabit, for example, and Marsabit decided this is how we want to manage our stima issues. In fact, we have such a surplus we shall sell to the rest of the country. They can't do that. Everything is still centrally controlled. And the more it is controlled centrally, the more complicated it becomes for the ordinary consumer to afford electricity.
Sad. Anyway, hii ndio Kenya yetu leo tuko mbaya zaidi kuliko vile tulikuwa jana. Anyway, I'm saying there's something that nimetumio hapa. Betty NK, I don't know who that Betty NK is. I mean, she can set as a teacher and someone Lucia please inform women who have issues with holding urine or stool following delivery of their babies, fistula, that they can call me for surgery at zero fees. My mother tongue was almost influencing me. I say, Shindo, we need to tackle those issues once and for all. Women are suffering in silence. And the number is 0725 911 515 or 0780 911 515 or 725 911 515 or 0708 0780 911515. We'll also still share that on a different broadcast so that we can see people can get help. I mean, mambo pia, at least if someone is willing to help people who are suffering for free, then that means that's Betty and K. Betty and K, you can drop us an inbox, but I also call you as in your number, ndakupigia ili utueleze how well we can go with this. Turudi kwa hii mambo ya Kenya. The other week we had a sheria that was saying that all the political meetings should be banned. Wakasema kuna vita, kuna watu kanyagana. What's your feeling?
Well, I think if you're going to ban them across the board. You cannot have one rule for one group and another rule for another group. By the way, as I say this, you will see an onslaught saying, I'm a tanga-tanga.
I've already seen that on Twitter.
I tell you, I've been forced into this tanga-tanga box I don't even know. But anyway, I think there has to be a standardization of permissions. You don't give permission to one group and not permission to the other group. If it's time for campaigns and public meetings, let everybody campaign and publicly meet and offer the same level of protection and security, not security to nyanyasa one group and security to protect another group. It has to be across the board. So for me, it's about a fair space for everyone to say and do whatever they want to do. And if we say this is not time for campaigns, everybody must stop. And in fact, we've been saying, hey, this is the earliest we've ever started on campaigns in Kenya. So when nobody was stopping reggae, people were meeting all over the place.
Yeah.
So let things continue. Come on, talk to us as Kenyans. Go all over the country, no matter who you are, where you are. Convince us that you are the people that we are supposed to be voting for come 2022. But this double standard, no, it shouldn't be.
Lucy, I was seeing the same meetings are happening. Niliona Gideon Moya alikuwa pale kwetu Rift Valley, Mau, Raila Odinga, niliona Mugithi Bondo bwana, Mugithi Bondo. Nikaona Kalonzo Musyoka, Alfred Mutua was also out. I mean, every business is going on as usual. The question is, and if you're actually talking about building these bridges, do we build bridges by banning other bridges? I mean, what's your general feeling? Because I think it's even going to get things worse.
Hypocrisy. My general feeling is just hypocrisy. And you see, Gerald, like my sister here said, if we are going to obey the rule of law, let everyone who contravenes it be punished. Isikuwe ni wale tuko politically wrong ndio tunapewa punishment at a given time. You know, if you're going to prevent Ndindi Nyoro from holding a public rally, you need to also prevent Hassan Joho from holding it. You know, it has to be fair. It has to be fair and equal. We cannot sit here and say, and this also touches on the prayer day on Saturday. We cannot sit here and say, oh, you know, if my people who are called by my name repent, and then the following day we are busy tear-gassing some people somewhere and letting others gather. You know, hypocrisy. Kuna kakitu hapo ambacho akiko right, and we are cultivating that culture onto the next generation, which is so wrong. And it's not supposed to be happening that way. We cannot be saying that we are fighting for equality and equity, yet tuko na rules different. And then the people who are not being oppressed right now, but were oppressed before, have sat down and folded their arms, saying nothing against this. Yet they want us to believe that they're defending the constitution, the rule of law, the right to what? Protecting people from COVID. Kwa sababu COVID inapatikananga tu kwa rallies za Washiali na Boni Khalwale and azipatikani kwa rallies za 001. It doesn't make sense.
Talking about forgiveness and God, you know, I don't know why we at times we treat God like a personal property. Like you tell God, come to a corner, let's talk, and you say, sasa wewe nataka tuongee na wewe, ule mtu atuombe msamaha, ule mtu mwingine ako hivi na hivi. The president State House. The president was there, the deputy president was there, the president spoke, the DP was not in a program. And then we come out and ask for forgiveness. I mean, do you think there's honesty in the way things are done in this country?
Sometimes I think that we have gotten to the point, and I think somewhere in the good book it says, you know, do not mock God. God shall not be mocked. I think we have spent a lot of time and cannot be deceived. We have spent a lot of time giving instructions and directives to the Almighty. and telling the Almighty what we expect. You don't do that. You don't do that. If you believe in God, if you believe in the divine, you are a servant of the Almighty, not the other way around. So when I see all these requests for forgiveness, see, it happens every year without fail. We come here, we weep, we wail, we mourn, we wear, we pour ash on our heads and wear sackcloth for about 2 hours, and then it's back to business as usual. And in fact, yesterday I was tweeting, I said, Your Excellency the President, since you have asked for forgiveness yet again, why don't you start off by forgiving us our electricity bills? Why don't you start off by making right, by considering every single person who's been suffering as a result of high electricity bills? That's a good start. Don't worry about all the other things you're talking about, Sijui legacy. Fix energy, fix electricity, remove those thieves, and you will get the forgiveness you want from Wakenya. For example, I would be willing myself to forgive him if he started tackling the thieves in the energy sector. But at the end of the day, we'll say, God forgive me, God forgive. It's meaningless, meaningless, meaningless. Although I'm not one to also tell God whether God has accepted the apologies or not. But sometimes I think we really treat God like God does not see who we are, what we do, and how we do it. And that is only to our detriment and our ultimate damnation.
You know, someone said an apology without change is basically manipulation. So we try to manipulate God a lot.
Yeah.
You know, when things get out of our control, then we run to God. Oh, let's go and pray. But then you see, you're praying. Have you really repented? You're praying. 2 minutes after you've prayed, you go back to the same sin. When Jesus, I think he gave someone back their sight and told them, go and sin no more, lest it comes back to you worse than it was before. But then you see, we pray, and then we actually go and do worse things. And then we come back, we pray again. Unajua ni kama tunachezea Mungu. You know, at times when you're a child and you want something from your parent, you'll throw a tantrum just so that your parent can give it to you. And then you learn, oh, kumbe if I throw a tantrum, I get what I want. So we are throwing tantrums at God. We are trying, we make decisions on our own, and then we drag God into our situation rather than consulting him first so that we won't have to drag him in later. And it doesn't work that way. We are the ones who have to fit into God's plan. God will never fit into our own plans.
Kidogo tuende tufanye dhambi alafu tutarudi. Alright. Now let's talk about political culture in this country before you even flip to mambo ya mashule na nini. The other day, in 2013, actually, you made a mistake. You see, the campaigns is the earliest time the campaigns have started.
Actually,
in 2011, April,
2011, yes.
Uhuru Kenyatta was in Nakuru launching his campaign, 2011,
yes.
when Kibaki was struggling to stabilize the country after PEV. So I don't think it's the earliest. It's even worse. It has been worse. Yeah. So and the thing is, when you look at the political culture in this country, at that time it was about, all right, let's come together with two communities. Now the country is united. Now the other community is out, and these other ones are saying, now we have an historical love affair. You guys, we've been friends, but we've been fighting for no reason. Now let's come in together. Let's have a political romance. Now the other person should not be part of this conversation. When you look at the political culture in this country, at what point do we develop a culture that thinks about the country and not about communities? The Gikuyu elders were in Bondo, and they have said, sisi na mutamaki kidheri na samaki ilikuwa imekutanishwa as a male. I mean,
you know, for me, ethnicity has always been weaponized against Wakenya. You use ethnicity to create camps to balkanize the country. But I've always said, in terms of politics, you have the political class of the big stomachs and the political class of those who don't have, the rest of us. And so long as Kenyans, we are willing to be zungushwad hapa na pale, being told now today it's a Kikuyus and Kalenjins who are friends, now it's a Kikuyus and Luos who are friends, and then the people all over the rest of the country need to figure out where they fit in, whether the Luyas come in here, the Somalis are there, what Wakosta like this, Sijui what, Wakamba are there, fielding many candidates, the Turkanas are sitting there, and then the marginalized, Rendile, the Borana, it is crazy. But at the end of the day, it's about interests, it's about power, it's about money. And we will always, until we rise up, be mismanaged under the name of ethnic groups sticking together. In fact, before the show started, we were talking about people twangaing mother tongue in public spaces. And I said, this is part of how we develop that culture where we have a them and an us. Then you walk into a place, you say Jerotich. In fact, this is why I'm always accused of being Tanga, because my name is Jerotich. So it is assumed instantly that I'm in that camp. They don't know what camp I'm in, but I can tell all Kenyans I'm in Camp Wa Kenya. I've only ever been in Camp Wa Kenya, no matter that my ethnicity is one that places me in Elgeyo Marakwet County originally. I live in Nairobi and I'm Team Wa Kenya. And if we allow ourselves as Kenyans to keep being divided along ethnic lines, we'll never progress. So all I can say is ethnicity is weaponized selectively by the political class of the big stomachs to ensure that come elections, we are foolish enough to run back to our kind of tribal enclaves and vote as per the instructions from our leaders. And we have to stop that. We have to, if we're going to change the course of this country for the sake of our children, for the sake of our children's children.
But the question is, even as you say that, Jerotich, what's the crime in? Because we are all, politics affects all of us. It affects you, it affects me, whether you want to participate in it or not. And I think at a personal level, people can make decisions on what's the crime. Because I'm also saying on Twitter, oh, this chick these days is Tangata. What's the crime? Because we don't all need to agree. We are on a table today. I can be pro-Dida. And nobody should criminalize me for that.
In fact, sometimes when I say who I voted for in 2017, people want to get shocked and they don't believe it. There is no crime. There is no crime whether I'm in Kieleweke, whether I'm in Tanga, whether I'm saying nobody can stop reggae, whether I'm an independent, whether I'm whatever. Everybody has a right to politically express themselves and belong to whatever camp they want to belong to. What I'm actually underscoring is do not allow your ethnicity to drag you into a particular camp because unatumiwa vibaya by the politicians. Use your head, because let me ask you, as a Kalenjin, does it mean my electricity bill is lower? No. Does it mean that I don't pay when I go to hospital? Let me ask also the people from Central Kenya. Tell me, when somebody is sick, do you go and you're told, oh, by the way, because you're from Central and your president is from Central, hutalipa? Everybody is equally suffering. And if we understand that there are no tax regimes for people from different tribes, we are all paying taxes. The people who skive taxes, who evade taxes, are the people in the political class of the big stomachs, and they are all in it together. In fact, these people who you see fighting in public, they go backstage and they watch soccer together. They are there cheering, drinking in their two locals in their upper deck neighborhoods. But at the end of the day, those of us in our places, we're saying, I'm going to vote mtu wangu. Mtu wako nini? What did that person bring for you? Mm-hmm. So we must use our brains as Kenyans, no matter our ethnic backgrounds. And we must be proud of our ethnic backgrounds. I'm never going to not say, I'm not a KU, I'm not a Kalenjin. I am. But does that mean that I abdicate my common sense and I abdicate my responsibility as an active citizen to choose wisely and choose appropriately? Absolutely not. And I refuse to be painted into any box. Nobody will paint me into any box. I'm Team Wa Kenya from start to finish. And if there is a candidate who articulates the philosophical spaces that I'm looking for, the manifesto spaces that has to do or that have to do with Team Wa Kenya, then you'll see me there.
All right.
you know, she has actually put it very well. We are so programmed into creating this narrative of having a binary option. It's either or. If you're Tanga, if you're not Tanga, then you must be Kieleweke. You know, if you're not pro BBI, then you know it's never just. Kuna so many options in life. There are so many options that we don't have to limit ourselves to two options. And you see, the problem is here. We limit ourselves to the two of the worst options that we can always find in this country. But there are people out there who don't have that clout that comes with all this. And then tunafatanga clout, alafu 2 years later we start crying foul. And yet we are the people who made those decisions. Wewe na PhD yako, unakaa huko mahali, unaacha baba yao akuwe gavana wako. Alafu 2 years later, you want to critique baba yao, na alifika to class 4. Surely, Shida iko wapi? You know, we need to start thinking beyond our noses. We are very myopic. We are a very myopic people. We don't see beyond 5 years. We don't see beyond personalities. We have not made up our minds on what we want Kenya to look like. We don't stand for anything. Therefore, we are falling for everything that is coming our way. Oh, China wanataka kutupea loan, later. Oh, sijui now ni France, later. You know, we don't have principles to stand on, and it should be a shame for us as a country. It should be a very big shame. Sasa tunafaa tukwe tumevaa sackcloth kama wale Wayahudi wa enzi za Esther na Mordekai, tumejipaka majivu huku, feeling so ashamed. But here we are thumping our chests as if there's something important we have done, when 57 years after independence we are still suffering from the same problems that our ancestors suffered from before independence. What kind of people are we?
I need to start saying you on a sackcloth for Monday. Jerotich, are you ready to go back to school?
Well, luckily for me, I finished with school a long time ago. But, you know, I think that this matter is not being treated with the seriousness it deserves. You know, children, I caught COVID. As you know, I had said in late July, I caught COVID. And I went for almost 40 days in isolation before I was really declared COVID-free and my symptoms were gone. This is not an easy thing to deal with. And in my household, I was in home-based care. My children did not catch COVID. Actually, neither did my spouse or the person who helps me in the house, because I think I went quickly into isolation. Children can be super spreaders. Children are extremely resilient. So you start sending them to school. Even if you say you have put sijui measures in place, what measures? Even if you test children, for example, your test results are only as good as that moment that you got your test results. You can 5 minutes later be infected. What happens when children go home and start infecting parents? Parents are less resilient. Parents are older. And what if you start, you know, we are not taking it seriously. And I think one of the things I see with the education sector is this is a natural result or effect of years of undermanagement, mismanagement, theft and plunder in the energy sector. So infrastructure was not in place. If you go to other countries where there is not as much theft in education sectors, you'll find that even the way they have arranged for children to go back to school, learning in pods, in systems, in cycles, you come, you go, there's a very clear, it's because the resources have been made available over the years for that. You don't wake up after years of plundering Ministry of Education and say we are ready to go back to school, because even if you look at it, our classrooms are crowded. Teachers are not enough. Even if you wanted to do remote learning, where are those famous CGI tablets that were supposed to be distributed? Kids are still, maybe the safest children in Kenya right now are those learning under trees because they're in open air. And then maybe if there is COVID, finally. But I'm even saying it, I'm saying it tongue in cheek, because it's a damn shame that children are still having to learn under trees. So this is a very dicey situation. And the second, all hell breaks loose, because we are seeing around the world and there's a second wave of COVID that is kicking in. The next moment that all hell breaks loose in Kenya and children are going home infecting their parents, when things have gone wrong, we don't have the services. You know how much money was stolen out of KEMSA. There are no PPEs. There's not enough reagents for testing. There's such a mess that if children begin to spread this disease, we'll be in trouble. That said, for whatever reason, as Africans, we have been spared. We have not been hit in the way that Europe has been hit, or North America, or other parts of the world, China, where it started. So for some reason, and scientists are still trying to figure it out, we have been spared. That does not mean we become careless. Doesn't mean we become complacent. I meet people all the time who say, Hakuna COVID. I say, I caught COVID. Even some people try to say, oh, umelipwa. I hear there was the first patient zero was also someone named Jerotich.
Yeah.
Who was badly trolled. And I don't know, but I can tell you, as this Jerotich Seii, I caught COVID and I was symptomatic. Let us not joke with this thing, because when it catches you, and if you have a pre-existing condition, you are really done for. Children might survive it. It might manifest as a cough, or you don't feel good for 1 or 2 days, but you come and give it to your mother, who is the primary caregiver there in the house, or father who is the breadwinner, or mother who is the breadwinner. what's going to happen?
It's going to get crazy.
We have to be careful. We have
Let's
to be
even talk
careful.
about the inequality in schools. There are some schools in Baringo which are marooned by floods. In Budalangi, there are schools which have been marooned by floods. When we talk about opening schools, are there children who are more equal than others? Because, really, what are the infrastructural strategies that have been put in place? Schools have been thrown off by floods. Zingine zimemezwa na maji. I was hearing that the only thing the government has given is soap in a place where there's no water.
There's no water.
Equality in education. When you're talking about opening schools, we're opening for who? Is it only those guys who can afford?
When I was growing up, public schools were our only option. And we all went to public schools. In fact, those who went to private schools were few and far between. Maybe there were expatriates. Maybe there were people who are going to have to go back to their country, so they needed a system other than the Kenyan system. Today, private schools abound. Why? I went to school in the public school space. And my children, if I'm honest, are in a private school. Why? When I would love them to have gone through everything I went through. To answer your question about equality, all you have to do is go to northern Kenya to understand that you have one group of Kenyans that are less equal than the other Kenyans. And this is exactly the same in education. So even when we are saying all kids back to school, even before COVID, even before floods are drowning schools in Baringo and Budalangi, there was always inequality in education. What do you call it when you have 90 children in a classroom with one teacher? One underpaid teacher. That is inequality in education. Why should there be schools where some children are 25 or 30 in a class, or even in some cases 15 to 20 in a class, even in some cases 10 to 15? And by the way, as you go lower in number, the more expensive that school becomes. There is inequality in education, and this is across the board in this country.
And Lucia, I heard Soshan speaking, and I was really taken aback because he said that it does not matter even if children are 300 in a class, there's no problem. When did we start saying bora elimu si elimu bora? Where does it? Because they're saying now, you go, it doesn't matter as long as you just go to school. That's what is important. Does that statement really make sense?
It doesn't. And coming from Sosion, I'm shook. Anyways. I don't know when it became Bora Elimu na si Elimu Bora, because Gerald, I'm also a product of public schools, pure product of public schools. Going through the schooling system, I had water in school. I had electricity in school. I had all the amenities that I needed. I was given textbooks and exercise books. Schooling for me was actually very fun, other than the vibokos na punishment and all these other things that come with schooling. For me was very fun. Nikiambiwa sahi nirudi shule with the people that I was with in the same environment, I wouldn't hesitate to go back, just as long as watoe exams kwa hiyo equation, I will gladly go back. I don't understand when the public schooling system became so bad. But then the commoditization of education, I think, has made it worse. When we are allowing these private solutions to public problems, and we are opting to go to private schools, taking our children to private schools that are not actually equally regulated with government schools, then that's where the problem comes in. Because at a private school, as she said, if you want your child to be attended to by a teacher in small numbers, given the attention that they really deserve, then you have to pay an exorbitant price. But then you see, here is what doesn't make sense to me. Education is supposed to help the country. So why isn't the country helping the education system in order to bring up people who can sustain the country? And you see, most of our leaders will tell you, I got my degree from Punjab University, from Sijui which university, that are not in the country. They therefore don't give two shits about the education system in the country because they never had to use it. But trust me, if I was to be president tomorrow, I would task my CS of education with one job: make public schools good enough for my children as
Correct.
president to go through the public schooling system. Because trust me, Gerald, as president, I'm not taking my kid to a private school. No, and I'm not getting treated in a private hospital. I want the public systems to be good enough for me as president to use them before I can allow my people to go to those facilities.
I completely agree, and I've even failed in terms of the education bit because my kids are in a private school, and I grapple with it because I say, what has gone wrong? And I don't know if you've had Dr. Wandia Njoya here, but you need to have her on your show one of these days to talk about education. We have really, really fallen for the private solutions to public problems thing here in Kenya. And when you look at the type of school fees we pay, how many shambas can you buy by the end of your child's education? And if you have more than one, if you have two, in my case, I have three, when will I ever afford anything? Although I should not have said I have three. As Kales, we don't count children. You don't count children. You say, sere. However,
in fact, on that note, I need you to add another one.
No. In fact, if I add even 5 more, no, I can't. I think I've passed that age. Now I'm in elder.
You can always try. You never know. Things happen. Things happen in this country.
But on a serious note, we have already failed. Even with health. When you're sick, you look to see what type of insurance you have, and you say, will this take me to Nairobi Hospital?
Yeah.
Will this take me to Avenue? Will this take me to Aga Khan? Because we have already understood that if you're going to Kenyatta, either you had absolutely zero option or you are likely to die. Why? When it is the biggest hospital in this region, not just Kenya alone. And we should be pouring. And when you look at the budget and you see how many billions are allocated to Kenyatta Hospital every year, but we are still here paying for insurance so that we can look for our private solutions to public problems. This has to stop. Either they stop taxing us completely and tell us to use our taxes that we usually pay to just survive on our own, or they tax us and provide us the services that we pay for. Yeah. This NHIF business, this NSSF business, this Huduma, all of these things, what are they giving Kenyans finally at the end of the day?
Do you know NHIF does not cater to reproductive health?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. And I was shocked because I needed it. I don't have money. I don't have money to go to Nairobi Hospital. I don't have money to go to India. People are struggling right now. I cannot start saying, mnichangia niende India, And you pay your NHIF thinking that it will come to help you when you really need it. Shock on me, I go to hospital and I was told, no, that procedure isn't covered by NHIF, but I pay.
The most they'll give you is money for your bed. They'll give you money for your bed, but not for a lot of these things.
They're sending you there to go and sleep.
Say, we'll cover your bed. But the other thing as well, if you make the mistake of not having NHIF and you go to hospital, you'll be penalized for not having it. So even if you had to remove your own money out of pocket, on top of that, you'll have a penalty for not having NHIF. So it's a way of saying you must have it. Whether we give you services or not, whether we support you or not, no matter what, you need to have it. It's like taxes. Pay your taxes. Whether we do your roads, whether you have water, whether you have electricity, whether you have schools, hospitals, whatever, pay your taxes. We don't care. But if you don't, the penalties are there. They're there to come after you if you don't. So that's the same with NHIF. As people have discovered to their great shock, it can be up to, I forget what the amount is, but it can be up to 1,800 bob a day that you pay in penalties while you're in hospital if you don't have an NHIF card or you're not up to date with NHIF.
So we are being forced to take NHIF by fire, by thunder.